Flames have used ice for healing as much as they have to skate on this season. An all too familiar scene, trainer Jim Bearcat Murray, the busiest Flame. Of their 24-man playoff roster, 16 at one time or another have been out of the lineup. Various forms of equipment have been used to try to hold this team together. Battered and bruised, taking the ice to face Vancouver in Game 3 Friday. The worst news still to come. Late second period, Captain Joe Nieuwendyk, who had already missed 7 weeks, hit a rut behind the goal, re-injuring his knee. And as if the Flames needed more bad news, same shift, Joel Otto clipped by Cliff Ronning at the blue line, trying to stay onside. An injured knee. Both players limped off the ice Friday and are still limping today. Neither Otto nor Nieuwendyk will be in the lineup for this Game 4. Meanwhile, prior to Game 3 Friday, Calgary's Mike Vernon already peaking. He was the center of attention despite losing 2 centers. Big save after big save, 26 in all in a 4-2 Calgary win, reminiscent of his '89 playoff heroics first round. Yes, the Canucks have seen this before. Today, Molson Hockey Night in Canada on CBC presents a Western Conference playoff doubleheader. First up from Vancouver, Calgary takes a 2-1 series lead into their game at the Pacific Coliseum to face the Vancouver Canucks. And
Final series with the Calgary Flames leading 2-1. And the constant in this series has been in goal, where Mike Vernon continues to perform, and he's performed at his best in backstopping the Flames to a 4-2 victory in Game 3. Kirk McLean was at his best in Game 1 of the series as he posted his 3rd playoff shutout. Don Koharski is the referee. Kevin Collins and Mark Vines are the linesmen. Denny Morrell is the backup. Pat Quinn has made a line adjustment for his Canucks for this 4th game. He has Jelena out with Linden and Ronning. Brown feeds it ahead for Ronning. Ronning for Jelena. He tried to hit Linden. It was beyond his reach. Gino Ojic not dressed this afternoon for the Vancouver Canucks. Joe Charbonneau in his first playoff action. Linden couldn't convert the centering pass from Ronning. Ronning persists, throws it out front. It's deflected by MacInnis. He's checked back to the net. This is something that the Vancouver Canucks wanted to do, be more aggressive with their forechecking and hit the Calgary defenseman.
For the Calgary Flames, with injuries to Joel Otto and Joe Nieuwendyk, will be looking to make a few slight modifications to their lineup. Dahlquist, Petit, Vesa Vidakovsky, and David Struch called up from the Flames farm team in Moncton. And St. John, rather. St. John playing Moncton in the playoffs right now. The Vancouver Canucks with a modification of their lineup. Don, as you mentioned, Gino, a fan favorite here, is out of the lineup. And Theoren Fleury will have the C on for this evening. That's happened on 20 other occasions this year when Joe Nieuwendyk was injured with the same type of knee injury, although a little more serious.
And Dave King was saying that with Joel Otto out of the lineup, Theoren Fleury will be out there taking a lot more of the faceoffs on behalf of the Flames. Lead pass beyond the reach of Reichel. And it's whistled down as Reichel touches it.
A little more owly that would cover a player, try to get him off his game. Sullivan just wants to stay close to Bure. He's not trying to upset him.
Charbonneau with his first shift of the postseason. He's out there with McIntyre and Memesso. Zalapski being watched by Memesso. Didick will pinch in from the point, but he can't get to the Calgary player Sullivan in time. Charbonneau's deflection is played by Vernon. Behind the net, again, Didick comes racing in. He bumps with Cruz, but the puck comes free out to center ice. And then Stern runs over Charbonneau. Now it's Zalapski. For Kissio. Kissio moving into the slot. Looking for Cruz. Cruz from a bad angle takes a shot that deflects out front. Here comes Bure. Working against Dahl. Bure shoots through the screen. It goes wide. Bure working to his backhand. Goes to the line. Merzen at the side of the net. Shot by Craven was deflected to the corner. Craven goes back to the goal. He's checked there. Cruz starts away with the puck. Kevin Dahl at center ice. Forced back into his own zone. Zalapski now flips it up to center, and it was beyond the reach of Theoren Fleury. 17:40 the time remaining in the opening period. Vancouver showing more aggressiveness with its forechecking game in the opening 2.5 minutes of this fourth game. Linden bumps his man along the boards. Musil waits, was knocked down in the neutral zone. Linden will gain control. He dodges a check from Fleury. Linden works his way in across the line. A drop pass for Adams. Adams couldn't get a shot away. Lume does. A backhander right on. And it's steered to the corner, picked up there by Titov. Titov bumped along the board. Lume at the point is able to keep it in. Bure in with some aggressive forechecking. He takes Ronnie in against the boards. Now Sullivan is bumped by Linden. Bure circling in the corner, trying to work away from Yanni. He leaves it for Courtney. For Bure, back to Linden. Linden feeds the point. Musil with a long shot wide. I don't think Mike Vernon ever saw that shot with the traffic in front, but Musil's blast was wide of the goal. Good pressure early by the Vancouver Canucks. And again, Courtney comes in and he bumps Patrick in the process. And this will be an icing call against Calgary with 16:13 remaining in a still scoreless opening period. Face off to the right of Vernon. Musil takes it to the corner, being bothered there by Antoski. Ronning comes in to help out. Back to the line and at the point. Jeff Brown wasn't in position to keep it onside. Titov slips it down the right wing to McCarthy. McCarthy throws it in front, but he's tied up by Antoski in the corner. And this is a battle of two heavyweights as they bump in the Vancouver zone. Brett Hedican, who has not scored a goal in 130 regular season and playoff games, is out on defense with Jeff Brown, the two of them from St. Louis. Here's Roberts picking up the loose puck. Roberts on a backhand shot, stopped by McLean. Roberts in 2 of the games played in Calgary had a breakaway in the opening period. And he has a breakaway in game 4 of the opening period here at the Pacific Coliseum. Nylander with a blast on the feed from Fleury, and it sails wide.
Well, Vancouver starting with a great tempo, Don. They've kept it up for the first 5 minutes. And when they have let down a little bit, McLean has been perfect in nets.
Nylander dumps it in, then he goes to the bench in the change. Fleury breaks up a breakout attempt. Babbage will try it again. Memesso flips it to the corner. Didick is racing in after it, but he's tripped up by Kesmer, and the penalty call has been made against Calgary. Dan Kesmer's first ever National Hockey League playoff game, and on his first shift, he is going to draw a penalty.
But Kesmer gets an interference penalty as Didick busts into the Calgary zone. Just before that, a huge save by Kirk McLean. A nice bounce, and Roberts comes from nowhere. Watch the poke check on McLean. These two guys are golfing partners in the summer. And on the first hole, they might be talking about this one. Vancouver's power play statistics not huge over 3 games. Great in game 1. Now they're right around 14%.
Bure is on the point. He tried to feed Ronning. He gets it back again and does get a chance to give it to Ronning. Back to Bure. Into the corner for Jelena. Ronning along the boards. Circles away from Fleury for Jelena. Back to Ronning. Bure over to Ronning. Ronning can't shoot it. Jelena has it at the side of the net for Ronning. Ronning fakes the shot. Bure's the lone man at the point. A long shot. Knocked down in front. Jelena jammed it wide. Ronning has it in the corner. Bure. Brown has gone into the other circle. Ronning lets the shot go wide. Brown races into the corner and manages to knock the clearing attempt down. Zalapski will try and get it out the other side, and he succeeds.
Well, Vancouver putting a good block up in front of Vernon. As we mentioned, their power play at about 14%. Simplify things a little bit and see if we can get some shots on a hot goalie.
Craven trying to set things up. He's checked along the boards, and it's knocked out to center ice, where Adams will try and gain control. He loses it to Titov. Titov cuts in front. Managed to get a weak shot away with Roberts driving for the net behind him. Now Roberts, with some good back checking, is able to steal the puck. 32 seconds remaining in the penalty to Kesmer. Courtnall for Craven. Adams went for the net, and Craven couldn't get the puck to him. 20 seconds remaining in the Kesmer penalty. 12:54 remaining in a still scoreless opening period. Kissio steals. Kissio couldn't get a shot away, and Bure's going to get a penalty.
Well, the good news is Bure goes straight to the penalty box without frustrating himself any further. I think this is an example of what Pat Quinn talked about, Don, in staying disciplined and focused and patient. Bure wants to get involved in the game. He wants to put numbers on the board, and sometimes that means you try to do a little bit too much. Kissio strips the puck off him, and Bure, in fighting to get back and stop Kissio from pretty much a breakaway, ends up hauling him down. Now Vancouver in front of the net doing a great job on Vernon. Jelena gets out to the side. If the puck comes down and Vernon doesn't control the replay, he's all alone against the Flames goalie.
Pat Quinn has to be concerned about the amount of time Bure has spent in the penalty box. He now has accrued 17 minutes in penalties in the playoff series. He only had 86 penalty minutes during the entire 84-game regular season.
Well, maybe getting outside of the type of game that he's best suited for. If you look at 9 minutes in penalties the last game, he played 28 minutes in all.
Yanni's shot is blocked by Lune. Merzen can't control it. Reichel back to MacInnis. He tried to go to the other side, to the other point to Yanni, and it went out beyond the line. And now Kesmer comes out of the penalty box. The Flames are at full strength. Brent Yanni, one of 4 defensemen on the Calgary roster who played in the Olympic Games under coach Dave King when he was with the national team. Zalapski is another. And the clearing attempt bounces beyond him, and MacInnis has to go back after it. A big game in game 2 for the veteran Calgary defenseman MacInnis. 5 points, 2 goals, and 3 assists. Here's Tim Hunter, checked by MacInnis. 1:08 remaining in the Bure penalty. 11:53 in the opening period. No score in the hockey game. Zalapski battles along the boards with McIntyre. McIntyre tried to flip it around. Reichel now. A backhand shot that is blocked by McLean. He tries to clear. MacInnis over to Zalapski. Zalapski to Fleury, and his redirection went wide. Zalapski's long shot. Roberts had come out from the corner and tried to get a stick on it. It was knocked away from him. Hunter will drive it in, and Vancouver changes up its penalty-killing 4. Zalapski dishes it off to the corner. Gets it again. Now Didick intercepts, and Didick will fire at the length of the ice.
Well, McIntyre and Tim Hunter doing a good job keeping that Vancouver penalty-killing percentage up at 85%. That's a tough number to keep that high.
Yanni takes it deep. It goes back of the net. Nylander has it. Nylander, one of the 3 players obtained from Hartford in the late deal. Out there now. Yanni's long shot. That's kicked to the glass. Bure is out of the penalty box. Puck loose in front of the net. Adams will move it ahead to Craven. Bure jumps up into the play. So does Didick. Didick goes in deep, tries to center. It's deflected to the other corner. Titov is being watched by Craven. Yanni and Bure doing some pushing in the corner before Bure manages to get free. Brown intercepts the pass, tried to feed it ahead to Bure. It's picked off by Nylander. Nylander dumps it to the corner, then Calgary makes a line change. We're approaching the midpoint of the opening period, still scoreless here at the Pacific Coliseum, game 4 of this Western Conference quarterfinal series. Linden runs into Stern, sends him flying, and then Cruz hits Linden. Here comes Stern. Stern shoots, he scores! Stern using Kevin Dahl as a bit of a decoy as Dahl went driving for the net, and he put it up high.
Well, Trevor Linden with a huge body check on Ron Stern here. Cruz takes that hit and changes the momentum. And how about Stern? He gets up right away and he's back in the play. Don, you mentioned Dahl driving to the net as well, and Ron Stern simply makes what sometimes people call a selfish play, but more often than not, it's the right play. If you have this shot, you take it. And even when a goalie is hot, you've got a better chance of shooting sometimes than attempting a pretty pass. Stern shoots the puck, and Calgary draws first blood.
And I'm sure Ron Stern, a draft choice of the Vancouver Canucks back in 1986, had derived some additional satisfaction out of the goal he has just scored to give Calgary a 1-0 lead. Anakin lets a long shot go as it's deflected up over the glass and out of play, and McIntyre is knocked down at the side of the Calgary net.
A lot of the time in early series in Stanley Cup playoffs, it's players that aren't perhaps the huge scorers during the regular season that set the tone. Ron Stern with a big goal to lead off for the Calgary Flames.
Kelly Kissio draws the assist at 10:07 for both players, their first points of the postseason. Linden hammers Yanni in against the boards. Hunter managed to tie up Kesmer. Puck bounces in front of the Calgary net, and Toski now takes it to the corner. Yanni bumps with him. Hunter is taken in against the boards by Dahl. Linden tried to walk out from back of the net. He was checked. Now we have Yanni and Toski continuing to battle in the corner. Finally, Yanni takes him down, and Toski now takes Yanni down, and referee Don Koharski is standing right there, and thus far, no signal. And Toski is the biggest player on the ice at 6'4", 235 pounds.
Now you look at guys like Toski and McCarthy, Don. These guys are big enough to burn diesel and pull their own trailer, and right now they're looking to get involved.
And when he gets on that highway, he doesn't stop for any red lights.
The problem is, if you go through the red light at the same time, you know that there's going to be damage to both sides. Koharski looking to calm things down a little bit. And I'm not sure that this is going to work right away.
And Toski and Yanni are still having an exchange of words and taking the odd swipe at each other with their sticks. Tim Hunter and Nylander had each other tied up. Nothing is likely to develop there, but something could happen if Toski and Yanni ever get together.
Well, Toski just heads to the dressing room. I'm assuming that he got a 10-minute misconduct. Let's listen in here.
And a 10-minute misconduct. The Vancouver penalty to number 18, Sean Toski, a 10-minute misconduct. The time 11:02.
Well, the end result is a power play for Pat Quinn's Canucks as the holding minor is assessed against the number 18 wearing the red uniform. Both 18s got a 10-minute misconduct. Yanni takes Toski in against the end boards, and this is where the holding call developed.
Well, Yanni put a good body check on Toski. You want to leave after a 2 or 3 count. Yanni stayed a little bit longer. And Koharski assessed a penalty. Now, you have to look at a referee doing this. When he gives 10 minutes after something like that as a player, you better recognize that if you're going to get involved in any type of altercation after the whistle, you better make your mind up and do it quickly, or you're going to find yourself cooling off for 10 minutes. Yanni is cooling off now, and so is Toski. Here's an interesting statistic now. The first goal of the game has won over 2/3 of those contests. Wasn't necessarily true with a couple of other ones today. But let's see if that stat stays the same over the entire playoffs.
Well, both the New York Islanders and the St. Louis Blues scored the first goal of their hockey games today, but both bowed out of the playoffs in 4 straight to the Rangers and Dallas, respectively. Bure teed it up, couldn't get a shot away. Sullivan was on him very quickly. 8:32 remaining in the period. Linden is checked by Sullivan. Jelena will drive it in. Vernon tees it up back of the net. MacInnis couldn't get it out on his first attempt. He's checked again. Now it's Brown at the point. His shot is blocked by Sullivan, who will take his time and fire it down the ice.
Well, Calgary really pressing the Vancouver power play. Vancouver's power play unit not operating real efficiently.
Lead pass for Adams. It's offside. It was not intended for Adams.
Well, Pat Quinn came over to the Vancouver Canucks in 1987, and he has made a ton of changes to the organization on the ice. If you look at 65 different days where he initiated some sort of player transaction, he picked up 74 players and 11 draft picks. And when you put it all together, 37 different players and 18 draft picks went somewhere else. Obviously, some of the 74 have gone on to either other teams or out of the game, or like Steve Tambellini, now in the front office with the Canucks.
Pavel Bure, one of 8 players to put together back-to-back 60-goal seasons in the National Hockey League. So far in the postseason, he has been shut out. But if he continues to log as much ice time as he did in Game 3 of this series, the Calgary Flames are going to have a difficult time of continuing to muzzle the Rocket.
Well, almost 30 minutes of a possible 51 that he was able to play. The other 9, as we've mentioned a couple of times, he was in the penalty box.
Bure at the point, couldn't get the shot away to Craven. His shot is blocked. Zalapski dropped in front of it. Craven has it again. Back to the line to Bure. Titov was out watching him. Here's Courtnall taking a shot from a sharp angle, blocked by Patrick. Bure has gone in deep now. At the side of the net, Craven tried to feed Courtnall. Adams leaves it back of the net for Courtnall. Bure works his way back to the line. Titov to the top of the circle for Courtnall. Adams is in front of the net. Courtnall takes a shot up high. The rebound. They jam away at it, and somehow Mike Vernon is able to cover up.
Well, if you think back to Game 1 and the conversation we had with Pat Quinn discussing why Vancouver's power play was so much better on the road, lots of people, including Quinn, suggest that maybe it's because it's simpler. This is a simple part of the power play. Courtnall drives the puck and then drives to the net. But if you look at some of the other opportunities that Vancouver has had, they're looking to make a couple more passes. And when you do that, particularly when you've got a team that's really pressing you as Calgary is, and you don't have as much confidence on the power play over the last couple of games, sometimes the puck bounces or you don't make the pass that you should, and all of a sudden power play expires and you don't have a lot to show for it.
Just 7 seconds remaining in the penalty, and this should kill off the final few seconds in the sentence against Trent Yanni. Charbonneau comes in with McIntyre as Yanni comes out of the penalty box in the slot area. The quick release by Mamesso, and that sailed wide. 6:48 remaining in period 1 here at the Pacific Coliseum. Game 4 of this Western Conference quarterfinal series. Calgary leading 2-1. Game 5 will take place at the Saddle Dome on Tuesday night. MacInnis is checked by Mamesso, but the puck was beyond the big Vancouver winger. Collision along the boards as both Linden and Mamesso stepped into Cruz. Cruz was able to get away. He went for the front of the net, but Kissio couldn't get him the puck. And the penalty call has been made with 6:13 remaining, and the whistle results in a gathering in the corner, but nothing more serious.
Calgary's power play, because of an elbowing penalty to Trevor Linden. Now Cruz really rocked Linden on that goal. Linden gets his elbow up a little bit. Looks like normal playoff hockey to me. Calgary's power play was not great in Game 1, outstanding in Game 2, and disappeared in Game 3. You know, throughout this year, Calgary was awarded power plays in only 27 of 84 games more than their opposition.
MacInnis with a shot, and McLean grabs that one as the rebound drops at his feet. Fleury was in the middle of a bit of a scrum, and he quickly skates away from Murray Craven.
Well, face-offs are so important. Calgary doing a pretty good job in game number 3. Vancouver was better in Game 2, and Calgary better than Vancouver in Game 1. You see what happens when you have the benefit of winning the face-off, and with a shooter like MacInnis, you know rubber is going to get to the net. 31 minutes he played in Game 3.
In the face-off circle, the puck winds up under Reichel and Craven.
Well, MacInnis and the Calgary Flames at times have been upset this year because they've had so many penalties called against them. But in this particular series, they can't argue at all. They've had a couple more power play opportunities in each of the first 3 contests than the Vancouver Canucks. 27 of 84 in the regular season was the only number they had in their favor. That has switched around for the postseason.
Al MacInnis, who was the outstanding performer in the 1989 Stanley Cup playoff round, needs just 1 more point to reach a milestone in his postseason career. Here's Fleury. He fires it wide. Knocked out to center ice. Craven coming in against MacInnis. He falls. Craven going in alone. He holds it. And Vernon moved across the crease with him. Great save by Mike Vernon, who came across the crease with Craven after Al MacInnis had fallen. Now it's MacInnis leading the attack for Reichel. Reichel back to the point. Zalapski can't shoot. He feeds Reichel to Roberts. Roberts is checked by Lume. Lume loses it. And Merzen can't clear. Out front for Roberts. And a great save by McLean. The puck rolled up from McLean, but he was able to steer it off to the corner. Now Lume is checked. He's having problems getting out. Fleury in front of the net, and McLean makes the save. Great action at both ends as the goaltenders come up with huge saves, and now Bure dumps it to center with 25 seconds left in the penalty. And this time, Gerald Diddick has no problems in firing at the length of the ice.
Well, when asked about an afternoon game, Pat Quinn said that the Canucks wanted to get more people from Vancouver Island and up Island to the games where they're getting a great opportunity to enjoy this afternoon game.
McIntyre flips it around the boards, and the penalty has expired to the captain, Linden. Kissio has it in the corner. Kissio looks in front, goes to the point instead. Yanni takes a shot. It's blocked by McIntyre, and Linden starts back for Vancouver. Having some problems controlling it, gets to the line. McIntyre couldn't shoot it. Hunter races in. He bumps his man. Babbage keeps it into the corner to Linden. He shoots, and Vernon makes a glove save. And now it's Patrick and Hunter exchanging punches, and it looks as though Patrick is going to be the only player going to the box.
Well, it's always better to initiate than retaliate. Tim Hunter found a way to get close enough to the line and then drop Patrick over without going himself. But how about this opportunity by Craven? Great presence of mind to hold and hold and hold and hold. And Mike Vernon, who is tremendously mobile, a little bit smaller, got the leg up. McLean not to be denied the spotlight. Did a great opportunity on Roberts and then one on Fleury. Here's a look at the penalty as Hunter gets the elbow up a little bit. And that shot was a little bit more than what Hunter did. He took one in the schnoz. He doesn't mind going to the bench when Patrick goes to the bench across the ice.
I always get a charge out of watching Tim Hunter after a penalty has been called. He's number 3 all-time in the NHL in penalty minutes. He always has that look of innocence.
Well, that's something you get a lot of opportunity to practice on. You know, it's something as well that you have to watch. If you're a guy that has got a lot of penalties, Fleury falls into this category sometimes. Referees are really watching for you, and more often than not, you don't have to go as far to draw the penalty as somebody who is not quite as often penalized does.
Ronnie Stern, who is no stranger to the penalty box, is the only goal of the hockey game, and the Canucks now trying to get back on even terms with a power play. Musil checked in the corner by Jelena. Linden is in there, battling for it as well to Brown. His shot right on the rebound, and Jelena on the backhand couldn't get it in. Linden fan. Brown checks Sullivan before he can clear. Brown has it again. Over to Bure. There's the shot. Another penalty coming up. And the Vancouver Canucks will have a 2-man advantage with 1:33 remaining in the penalty to Patrick.
Well, Calgary has got a little bit of luck combined with some great goaltending from Mike Vernon. Half of the Calgary bench on their feet with Dave King. The more you get frustrated, the more the crowd sees it, the louder the cheers are as the towels all come out. And Musil heads to the penalty box.
Neither side has had great success 5-on-3 in this series, but now the Vancouver Canucks with a glorious opportunity. A two-man advantage for 133. Musil draws the penalty call as he hammered Ranheim at the side of the Calgary net.
A minute and 33 and the penalty to Patrick. Vancouver has got a huge chance here. Now you listen to this crowd. They have been boisterous throughout the year, but because this building wasn't sold out, you've got a great number of fans that are not typically season ticket holders, and they've been keeping all of these cheers inside them throughout the regular season. Last game and this afternoon, they're all coming out.
Traffic in front of the net. Bure has it. There's the shot by Brown, right on, and the rebound, and Vernon trying to cover up, and he squeezes it between his pads with Jelena, Ranheim, and Linden all swarming around the Calgary goal.
Well, it's really tough when you're killing a penalty 5-on-3 not to jump out. You got to convince yourself that there's going to be great opportunities, and your goaltender becomes the most important guy on the ice. Linden all alone with Mike Vernon. He got a couple of whacks at it, but Zalapski and MacInnis know that because there are two extra players, you can't do it all. You go back and give your goalie a tap on the pads and say, spread out as best you can, and we'll do whatever we can.
Linden against Fleury. Back to Brown. Brown takes his time. Jelena parks himself in front of the net. Ranheim is at the side of the goal. Bure couldn't get a shot away. Bure has it again. Over to Brown. The shot knocked down in front of the net. The puck is loose, and Fleury gets to it and clears. The players in front of the net weren't sure where the puck had gone.
Well, I think it may have hit Linden. Got caught up in some equipment initially. It's exactly how Adams got hurt in game one. Got a puck in the chest.
Bure sets things up. Fans imploring somebody to shoot. Brown fakes. Bure won't shoot it either. Ranheim has it. Ranheim throws it in front. Brown lets the shot go. He hit the post. Now Jelena has moved back to the point. Brown's long shot deflected. Jelena goes to the boards. He feeds Bure. Bure fakes. Over to Brown. He moves in. Back to Bure. A one-timer. Big save. They score on the rebound. Jelena.
Went outside to take the body right here. Thought he had an opportunity. Gets held up a little bit, and now it's 5-on-2. By the time Calgary gets set up again, Jelena has got an opportunity to whack it up top, and Vernon, who has faced 14 shots, was on his way down, trying to regain his balance when Jelena went up. All of a sudden, we got a tie game, and Vancouver has got 45 seconds remaining in their power play opportunity.
And has Don Koharski called a penalty against the Calgary Flames?
Well, I think what Koharski was saying was talking about chatter from the bench. I'm guessing that's what the hand signal was.
I think a bench minor has been assessed against Calgary. So for 45 seconds, another two-man advantage for the Vancouver Canucks.
The playoffs scored on the power play by number 23, Martin.
I talked with the backup referee for this afternoon's game, Denny Morel, as we get another look at the goal here. Jelena with the backhand to the roof. And Morel said one of the things that referees are trying to do more of is speak to the respective coaches when there's different issues. It's amazing how 15 seconds with a coach can say, look, I don't necessarily agree with you, but here's why I made the call I made. And that squelches any more conversation and sometimes takes away from a bench minor or the potential for one.
Jelena thought he was home free, but it's offside. Martin Jelena, who was a member of the kid line with Adam Graves and Joe Murphy in Edmonton's 1990 Stanley Cup success, has the Vancouver Canucks back on even terms, with Bure and Brown drawing the assists.
Jelena has been on some pretty impressive lines. In junior, he played with Stefan Matteau and Jeremy Roenick at the Hull Olympics.
Ronnie, who holds 6 Canuck playoff records, including the most goals, 18, is back to the net with Linden. Now it comes to Bure at the point. He takes his time, lets the shot go at the side of the net. Jelena tried to jam it again. Bure has it. Over to Linden. Back to the point to Brown. Brown moves in. Linden, the captain, looks. Jelena and Ronning go to the front of the net. 10 seconds left in the 2-man advantage. Bure's shot goes wide, and Zalapski will try and clear. He's blocked by Linden. And finally, Fleury nudges it ahead to Musil, who got turned around as he came out of the penalty box. He was going the wrong way, or he would have had a breakaway.
Well, Theoren Fleury has logged a lot of ice time in this first period. A huge play by Zalapski to hand the puck that got it down the ice.
The fans want a penalty as Bure is knocked down, but there's no call. We're into the final minute of the period with 49 seconds remaining in the power play for Vancouver. Here's a steal by Titov. Coming in against Lume. Decides to take it back into his own zone to kill off some of the seconds in the penalty. The bench minor that was assessed against the Calgary Flames. 34 seconds remaining in the period. Babbage couldn't feed Courtnall. Dahl has to chase it down in his own zone. He tries to clear, and it hit the linesman. Babbage can't keep it in. And a whistle from referee Don Koharski, and I think he's calling a charging penalty here against Vancouver's Jeff Courtnall.
20 seconds left in the opening period. Courtnall's got great pursuit on the puck. In game number 3, he did an exceptional job of being on that line that we've talked about so many times, getting Calgary frustrated by taking the body hard and seeing if he could draw some retaliatory penalties. That time, Koharski assessed that he went over that line a little bit, and he will rest for a minute 40 coming into period number 2.
Courtnall, in talking about the 4-2 loss on Friday night, he said, we worked hard enough to be successful. We had a few mental breakdowns. He said, if we're going to beat Calgary in this 4th game, we have to be aggressive and get on their defensemen in their own zone.
We talked about the edge that Vancouver has to find. That edge comes in capitalizing on 5-on-3s and getting a bounce here and there. Gary Roberts heading out a little bit early for the 2nd period.
Roberts has a problem with pinched nerves in his neck and shoulder. He doesn't have a full range of mobility with his right arm, and there may be another problem now as he heads out. Reichel has the puck, feeds it over on the wing, and Stern's shot is gloved and held by McLean just as the horn sounds to end the period. And it was Stern with a high shot to open the scoring for the Calgary Flames before Jelena tied it on the power play.
Boy, a very similar game to game 3. Vancouver has to find a way to put 2 more periods just like this together, and if Calgary can keep the same sort of composure that they did after they lost Otto and Nieuwendyk, we're going to have an interesting game that might see us play a little bit more than 60 minutes of regulation time.
Very hard played opening 20 minutes here at the Pacific Coliseum. 15-10. The Canucks with the edge and shots on goal. To tell us about our side, the Pacific Coliseum, this game is tied at 1. Ronnie Stern at 10:07. Martin Jelena at 17:54 on the power play. The marksman and the Vancouver Canucks start period 2 a man short. Still 1:39 remaining in the penalty to Jeff Courtnall. Theoren Fleury watched by Craven before feeding it ahead to Reichel. Reichel's long shot up high on McLean. He had a bit of difficulty with it, but he's able to clear. and then the Canucks fire at the length of the ice.
Robert Reichel hasn't been mentioned a lot in this series, but he has done a pretty good job in difficult circumstances. Drew a couple penalties in Game 3, and this afternoon he's been huge in faceoffs for Calgary.
Zalapski over to MacInnis. For Fleury, a quick shot just wide. Roberts for Reichel. He tried to feed the point, but it was intercepted by Craven. Craven for Merzen. Merzen's shot. Big rebound gathered up by Reichel. That's the first shot of the postseason on goal for Dana Merzen. Babbage breaks up the play ahead to Bure. Bure coming in against Zalapski, trying to work through the loose puck. Flipped by McIntyre, and the net has come off its supports as the puck goes the other way. At the side of the net, Nieuwendyk bangs the loose puck, but there's a stoppage in play. Don Koharski initially attempted to put the puck or the net back on its supports, but Mike Vernon is down and McIntyre is tangled up with him, and it appears as though Vernon is hurt. Now Koharski was going to let play continue, but then he realized that the Calgary goaltender was injured, and that could mean some work for Trevor Kidd, who was the busiest man in the 7 regular season meetings between Calgary and Vancouver this year.
Well, Vernon didn't move for quite some time. He's getting going now. Either he was tangled up pretty good with McIntyre, or it's quite possible that he may have been knocked out for a moment. Fleury is going through some initial questioning with him, and now Bearcat Murray, who made it to the opening of the show this afternoon, has a brief chat with Vernon. Here's what took place. Now Bure gets an opportunity here, but Zalapski, who's a great skater, comes back and does a super job in grounding the Rocket. McLean right on top of Vernon, puts the scissors on him, and rather than fighting to get out from underneath the big Canuck forward, Vernon just lays still. That time as well.
And Mike Vernon is one who believes that players wouldn't be driving as hard to the net with reckless abandon if they still had the steel posts. Fleury with Roberts in front of the net, gets it back to Patrick. His shot is blocked by McIntyre. Kesmer is after him, takes him out of the play, but Nieuwendyk following up, fires it in deep, but it's offside.
Well, if we take a quick look back with that onslaught, 374 shots for Bure in the regular season.
Pat Quinn was saying that he keeps track of ice times during the course of a game. Here's a steal for Ronning, and he fires it wide. Puck loose in front, and Gary Roberts is able to move it ahead. The Vancouver Canucks at full strength. Walls trying to work in deep. Roberts crashes into Brown. He saw the check coming and was able to jump up against the boards. Linden shot, scores!
Well, Trevor Linden has been the most consistent and the best player over this entire series for the Vancouver Canucks. And he scores a large one here. A cross-ice pass by Courtnall that forces Vernon to shift. He doesn't get his legs closed in quite enough time, but Linden, who lets this one go from the top of the circle, overpowers Vernon, catches a little bit of his stick. You know, Vancouver has had a few opportunities so far this afternoon. The puck has bounced. They haven't been able to beat Vernon. It's very easy to get discouraged. Linden and the Canucks have not gotten discouraged, and all of a sudden, they take a lead only 2 minutes and 6 seconds into the second period.
And when Trevor Linden scores, the Vancouver Canucks have a very impressive record. They are 63-18-7 when Trevor Linden lights the red light. At 2:06, Linden with his third of the playoffs from Courtnall and Brown. Mamesso dumps it to the corner. Charbonneau against Musil. They tie each other up. Cruz for Kissio. He gets it to Stern. A drop pass for MacInnis. MacInnis in with Cruz. Over to Cruz. A backhand Musil's long shot hits Stern, and the Canucks Memesso is able to clear.
Boy, oh boy, a couple of things that you want to remember. Vancouver started this period shorthanded, did a great job killing. And when the Flames can come down and hit the post, you better recognize you still have a big task in front of you for another almost 40 minutes.
Patrick cuts it off. Left back of the net where McLean moves it to Lume. Lume tried to bank it off the boards and out, but it was intercepted, fired back in offside with 16:53 left in the period. Well, Jeff Brown has picked up an assist on both Vancouver goals. The Canucks in front by a 2-1 margin. Zarley, Zalapski along with James Patrick and Michael Nylander, the three players that came to the Calgary Flames just before the trade deadline. Three players that Coach Pat Quinn thought he had heading to the West Coast just prior to that deal being made. In front, Craven couldn't get a shot away. And Merzen races after the loose puck, but was cut off and falls. Fleury has it. Fleury tried to go for the net, lost control. Now racing after the puck is Craven. He had a breakaway earlier. This time, Vernon makes a save with his glove hand. The previous time, on a clean breakaway, Craven tried to go to his backhand, and Vernon moved across the crease with him.
Well, Murray Craven, after a long shift, elects to shoot here, gets one up. Vernon, who has got a pretty good angle on this, not only stops the puck, but corrals it as well. You see him looking at Adams, knowing that if he wasn't able to get that one tied up in his equipment, Adams was right there on the rebound. Craven has had a very, very strong game so far today. Great breakaway to begin that third period, and carries it on here.
Close to one lead. Titov will take the face-off against Linden. And this is in now. He's waved out, and Kesmer comes into the circle. Manages to tie up Linden, and Yanni starts away. Dave King was saying that the Flames would miss Joel Otto in the face-off circle, particularly in the defensive zone. And a variety of people have moved in. Here's the rebound! And it landed on top of the net as Jelena took a swipe at it. And he came, oh, so close to getting his second of the afternoon. The puck landed right on top of the Calgary goal.
Jelena is a very, very fast skater. Combine that with great quickness as well. Now you see he waited for the puck to drop. He knew that even if he would have hit it above the crossbar, it would have been high sticking. He was hoping it would come down in time. When he knew that it wouldn't, he thought, I'm going to take my chances and let it drop. Now Kesmer has had a tough job so far today. Hasn't had a chance to dress, and when he does dress, he's playing the right side. Talk about having to be conditioned and listening and watching other jobs. Normally a defenseman. Kesmer's up on the wing.
Titov forced to circle back into his own zone by forechecking of Brown. McCarthy races back of the net. McLean beat him to it to play the puck. And now Jelena moves it ahead to Antosky. Antosky cuts for the goal. He's knocked down. Jelena fires the puck. And Vernon has it as the net is knocked off its supports. That would have been an interesting call had the save not been made as to whether the puck had been dislodged. Jim, you talked earlier about Sean Antosky with a head of speed going for the net. And boy, he's a tough man to stop.
Well, this is that big diesel we talked about, pulling his own trailer, and he can skate. He's got great speed. You might be able to get away from him if you run through an obstacle course, but in a straight line, when he's got a bead on the net, you see how he can cut in. Made a great play. If the net doesn't come off the moorings, or if Vernon misses that one, Koharski has got a tough decision to make.
20-11, the shots on goal favoring the Canucks. And they lead the hockey game 2-1 with 15:22 remaining in the second period.
Now Quinn has mixed up his lines a little bit. He's put some speed with some beef and some beef with some speed. Right now, Tim Hunter with Courtnall and Ronning. We haven't seen that combination with the exception of this game.
Ronning trying a wraparound. It's knocked away from him. Pavel edge, couldn't control it at the point. Stern, who has scored the lone goal for Calgary, dumps it to the corner in the foot race. Didick gets there first. Ahead of Cruz, Stern comes in. Trying to free it for Kissio. Kissio's tied up in the corner by Didick. Puck goes back to that corner, and again, Didick and Kissio battle for it. Now Didick goes to the other side. Kissio stays with him, but Didick is able to bank it off the boards and down the ice with 14:33 remaining in the second period. And an injured Vancouver player who went sliding into goaltender Mike Vernon. That was behind the play after the Flames had started the other way.
Well, I think it's Tim Hunter, Don, driving to the net. Vernon managed to get out of the net. Now Hunter goes down before Vernon hits him. Another look right here. Doesn't really run into the net, so he wasn't injured on that.
But it looked as though one of his skates slipped out from under him, and he was in a very awkward position as he went sliding into goaltender Mike Vernon.
Now Larry Ashley out very, very quickly. I haven't seen Hunter lay on the ground too often. Perhaps went down on his back and had the wind knocked out of him. So far in this second period, Vancouver out shooting Calgary 6-1. You can see how they continue to carry the momentum. A scrape around Hunter's neck. You saw Ashley take a look at it. May have been from a stick somewhere in this game. Take a look in the middle of your screen as MacInnis puts the stick on Tim Hunter and then drags it across the sternum. You saw the scrape as Larry Ashley was looking after Tim Hunter. He's hurt on the way down here. Obviously not a whole lot of flesh, and when you get a stick right straight on the bone across the ribs, not only smarts but knocks the wind out of you. That would be my guess, and that's the reason that Tim Hunter has gone to the dressing room briefly.
Obviously, the referee can't see everything that is taking place on the ice. And a couple of players in conversations we had with them yesterday were suggesting it might not be a bad idea to have a second official watching proceedings from upstairs. Out front, quick shot by Lume. Craven in the corner. Adams back to the point. Merzen over to Lume. Lume moves in. He shoots, and Vernon has it.
Sullivan all over Bure at the side of the net. Vancouver and Calgary with a long playoff history. The Calgary Flames have taken a little different road than the Vancouver Canucks after a pretty long period without advancing very far in the playoffs. Ended up winning a cup in 1989. Since that time, though, not a whole lot of success. Vancouver with great success in 1982, losing to the Islanders. But after that, same sort of scenario that the Calgary Flames have experienced, and that means that there's a whole lot of pressure on both of these teams, particularly with the focus financially on the game now. Guys like Bure and Reichel coming up for big contracts, new buildings, and of the sort. Teams have a lot more pressure on them to go further in the playoffs than they used to.
Well, that 1989 playoffs
by a puck.
13:45 remaining in the second period. Hedeken races in from the point. He had assists in the first two games, manages to control as he gets away from Dahl. Hedeken still controlling back of the net. He's persistent. Dahl finally ties him up. Kissio comes back to help out, but Stern can't clear as he takes a bump. Now it's McIntyre with a shot right on. Memesso jams away at the rebound, and Vernon's got it.
Vancouver much more intense this afternoon, and they've been that way for the entire first period and the first 6 minutes of 40 seconds of this period. Nothing fancy about this. Vernon lets go of the puck. We saw it pop out of his glove in game number 3 as Ronning fired one at the side of the net. He loses this one here too. Look at the way the Canucks are converging on the net. Now Calgary is there to wrestle some of them away. 4 Flames right in the middle, looking after Vernon. Tim Hunter back on the bench here. He had an ice bag on his chest underneath the stands. Ice is a great soother. Feels kind of strange sometimes, and in fact almost hurts when you get injured. You don't want to put the ice on it, but it's the best thing for it. Immediately stops the swelling and the bleeding.
86 playoff games for Calgary, and here in Vancouver, Tim Hunter has played 15 postseason games for the Canucks. 101 total postseason games. The all-time leader, Larry Robinson, 227 postseason games.
There's only 38 active players in the National Hockey League that have played more than 100 games. It's a feather Tim Hunter carries proudly in his cap.
Babbage in the corner with Kissio. Linden comes back to help out. The captain skates away with Antosky. Penalty coming up as Bure was upset by his shadow, Mike Sullivan.
Now Bure had a few words for Sullivan, and he's got a little bit more heated with Sullivan. You know, this wasn't personal in the first 3 games. And Sullivan is not the type of kid that wants to get anybody upset. He just wants to do his job. And Bure has started to whack Sullivan a little bit, start to get some frustration there. We showed the replay at the start of the hockey game where Bure drew a penalty on Sullivan by changing the separation and his pace, and Sullivan had to stick his leg out. There's another example, and that's the edge that we're talking about, Don. If you can do that more and more and win those confrontations where you upset the other guy and he ends up in the penalty box, your chances of scoring and ultimately winning the hockey game and the series start to improve.
Without last change, Dave King has to do some things differently in shadowing Bure, and one of them is more or less being forced many times to change on the fly to get Sullivan out there against the 60-goal scorer.
But as we showed our viewers at the start of the hockey game, when you've got Titov and he plays on a different line, and you've got Fleury and he plays on a different line, and you've got Zalapski who can play 35 minutes if he has to, the Flames have got lots of flexibility in shadowing Bure.
Canucks have already scored 1 power play goal. They're looking for another. Jelena is the man who pulled the trigger with the man advantage. Now Ronnie leaves it at the point. Brown, under some pressure, tried to shovel it in. He does a good job of preventing a clearing attempt. Ronnie was knocked down by Titov, who has the puck. And the fans reacted to the hit by the Flame on the Canuck.
Well, Calgary has not scored a power play goal in their last 11 chances, and Vancouver has only had 1. Most of the scoring has been 5-on-5.
3-on-2 broken up, and Titov starts back, trying to get away from Bure. Titov is knocked down, but a quick release. Musil with a shot as Fleury let the initial drive go, and then Musil pounced on the rebound. Here comes Bure. Back to Ronning, over to Bure, over to Brown. Brown had to hurry and flip it into the corner as he was being pressured by Kissio. Now Fleury will go to the corner. Fleury pinched in, preventing him from clearing. Jelena feeds the point. Bure back to Brown, over to Bure. Traffic in front of the net. Over to Brown, a one-timer right on. Big rebound, loose in front of the net. And Mike Vernon, despite all the traffic, made the save. He'll be tested again as Brown moves in. Fakes the shot. Bure lets it go. Loose in front of the net. They bang away. And Jelena couldn't get his stick on it. Frantic action in front of the Calgary goal with 14 seconds remaining in the penalty to Sullivan.
When you have things happening this fast around you, you got to slow your thinking down a little bit. If you react too hastily, sometimes you don't make the right play. Vancouver moving the puck around quicker than they have on their initial power plays. Fleury right here does exactly what I said you can't do. He reacted too hastily, and Vancouver did a great job in keeping it in. There's a great example of Brown taking his time and slowing his thinking down. Made a nice play over to Fleury, to Bure rather, and generated a scoring chance. Now, Vancouver here lost their focus for a minute, and when you do that, well, you give up scoring chances. They got to remember this one.
That all resulted from a rather casual clearing attempt by McLean against Gary Roberts. Bure at the point, lets it go, save, rebound, another save. Adams pounced on the rebound, and now Sullivan is out of the penalty box. Sullivan almost broke away, but Bure comes the other way. He drops it for Adams to Bure, a shot. And that sails wide. Back comes Titov. Babbage trying to catch up with him. Titov with a shot kicked to the corner by McLean. Babbage did a good job getting back and cutting down the angle. Roberts bumps into Bure. Titov back to the net. Nylander comes in to help out for Patrick. His shot is deflected high by McLean. Penalty coming up as Roberts was chopped down in front of the goal. 10:23, the time remaining in the second.
Well, Gary Roberts was fortunate that he did not get a penalty right here. He got the elbow up on Bure. Koharski is right out of your screen, but Bure retaliates as opposed to initiating, and he goes in front of the net looking to settle the score. Gets the leg out on Roberts, tries to make it look accidental, but Koharski, who's watched Bure right from the time that Roberts gave the elbow penalty, calls the call on Bure. Now Bure, I think, is going to the penalty and taking that penalty so he can get a rest done. He played almost 12 minutes in the first period, and that hasn't slowed up here in the second.
16 minutes and 39 seconds of ice time for Pavel Bure, and he's also spent 4 minutes in the penalty box. Had Bure not drawn the penalty, Kirk McLean might have, as he took a swipe at Gary Roberts in front of the net. Those two really had something going in game two. McIntyre is out there with Tim Hunter. McIntyre tried to get it back to the point. It was intercepted by Reichel. Walls, who hasn't seen a lot of ice time, races into the corner, spins away from Babbage, back to MacInnis, over to Yanni, long shot through traffic, and it's blocked by Didick. Didick will clear.
When you're killing a penalty, it's so much more difficult for the power play to keep the puck in if you put it off the boards. Didick with a good hard shot, played the angle. The guys in the power play have to think right away what angle it's going to come off at, and that makes it more difficult to keep it in.
Merzen can't clear against Fleury. Roberts has it now, looking for some help. Linden intercepts, and he'll fire at the length of the ice.
And you can see Vancouver playing with more confidence as this game goes on, with a one-goal lead and good success on the power play. Calgary's power play, that is, killing it. They're putting more and more pressure on the Flames.
Zalapski tried to slip it back to the point, but MacInnis was not yet in position, and Linden nudges it down the ice with 23 seconds remaining in the Bure penalty. Here comes Fleury with a head of steam and a shot right on. The rebound, Roberts had it in his skates, couldn't get a shot away. Merzen takes it away from Roberts, and he'll put it into the Vancouver bench on his clearing attempt with 7 seconds left in the penalty to Bure.
Calgary has not been at all afraid of coming into the Coliseum. They've had great success here, unbeaten in their last 4, 1 tie, and each one of those games, with the exception of a blowout on October 9th, has been very, very close.
Well, they've averaged just better than 4 goals per game in their 4 visits, as the Canucks are 0 for the season here at the Pacific Coliseum against the Calgary Flames. But at the moment, they enjoy a 2-1 advantage with 8:30 remaining in the second period. And Vancouver dominating in shots on goal, 29-15 at this stage. Murray Craven takes a little extra time before positioning himself in the face-off circle opposite Kelly Kissio. Craven takes it to the boards. Cruz has it there. His shot is right on. Kissio back to the point. Zalapski's shot goes wide as Bure comes out of the box, and he continued to float in that neutral zone, hoping that he'd be able to pounce in a clearing attempt. Craven bumps Kissio in the corner, right in front of his own net for Jeff Brown, who had no choice but to bank it off the boards. Bure almost stole it. Now it's brought in across the line offside by Adams. 7:56 remaining in the period. Close to Vancouver than when he went initially from Quebec to St. Louis. He said he's a much more responsible defenseman.
Well, and as so often happens when you get a player playing with you, you start to understand how good he is. Playing against somebody you get an appreciation for that, but when you start to see the little things, you get an understanding.
Henneken has it at the point. Weak shot knocked down by Titov. McCarthy runs into Henneken. 7:29 remaining in the second period. Charbonneau checked at the line. Brown was knocked down back at center ice on a hit from Nylander, and the whistle goes on the icing call with 7:19 remaining. Yanni and Charbonneau having words. This is the first.
Two teams, every goal was even strength. Up until that point in time, there was a fair number of power play situations. Overall in the National League this year, New Jersey was #1. Other teams that fell into that category and high on that list, the Detroit Red Wings and the New York Rangers. When you're strong 5-on-5, you got a lot better chance to win over the long haul. Vancouver has dominated in the even strength scoring so far in this series.
Trevor Linden has the ability to move from center to the wing, and this is an interesting combination for Vancouver. He's out there now with Hunter and Jelena, with Linden playing center. Icing the call against Calgary with 7:01 remaining in the period. Ken Daniels has, let's put in a plug for Babs' golf course, Larders at St. Andrews. He and his brother Wayne are financially involved. Nieuwendyk fires it back in. 6:40 remaining in this second period as the fans start to provide some vocal support for the Canucks. Zalapski for Fleury. Fleury's pass intercepted by Bure. Vernon came way out of his net to play it. He almost got knocked down by one of his own players.
Well, Fleury barely got out of the way. Half a stride either way, and there would have been a pretty good collision between the two teammates.
Dropped off for Craven. Saved by Vernon. And Adams almost got to it. 6:05 is the time left. Dave King's team trails by.
Murray Craven has really been shooting the puck. Look at this riser as it catches Vernon right in the shoulder. Vernon looks around to see who's coming and then freezes the puck.
And Vernon has been by far the busier goaltender in this second period, making 15 saves to the 6 that Kirk McLean has been forced to make. And of course, Vernon has had some traffic in his goal crease and had the big collision with John McIntyre that for a moment looked as though it might put him out of the game.
But Vernon just having a slurp of water, really important to make sure you're keeping your fluid levels up. When you get in a long, strenuous game, and you forget about drinking water, it wears on you as the game gets extended.
Titov against Ronning in the face-off circle. Talked about the versatility of Captain Trevor Linden. He had a shift earlier on the wing. He's now out, or at center, I should say. He's now out playing wing with Ronning and Courtnall, a unit that was referred to as the lifeline. And in game 1, all three were able to score a goal in the 5-0 shutout. .35 remaining in the second period. In a 2-1 Vancouver lead. Here's Courtnall now coming in with Ronning and Linden. Courtnall's shot is blocked. Courtnall spins around, gets it again. On the rebound, Ronning races in. He can't get a shot away. Now lets it go. It's blocked by Gary Roberts. Musil moves it up along the boards as Merzen checks Roberts. Here's Walls over for Titov. Intercepted on a fine play by Lume. Linden and Ronning cross. Ronning took a swipe at it. It bounced away from him.
Well, Gary Roberts with the football collar on was playing defensive back as he caught Courtnall right in center ice. Didn't hit him with a stand-up check. Went down just like you would off the line and took Courtnall out of play. And just before that, Courtnall had a great opportunity. Vancouver with more depth to their attack. Look at Ronning going to the net. Courtnall stays with the puck. and if not for a bounce, would have had a great opportunity. And Lume, who's a great defenseman, very mobile, hasn't been a real standout so far in this series, makes a huge play here. Your goalie wants you to stop the pass, and that's exactly what Lume did. Watch Roberts come into your screen here. He decides to bail out. He says, I'm wearing a football collar. Okay, I don't have a mask on, but I'm going to take Cardinal just like I would if we were playing high school ball.
Lume is giving some consideration if the Vancouver Canucks don't survive the playoffs to joining the Finnish team for the World Hockey Championships that get underway tomorrow. Babbage with a shot. Gets it again, fires it wide of the goal. McIntyre attempted to center. It's picked off by Stern. For Sullivan. McLean trying to play it up high in the glass. Dahl at the point, a shot blocked by McIntyre. Now McIntyre skates away. He has Charbonneau and Memesso with him. 4:23 remaining in the period. Charbonneau trying to cut off the clearing attempt, deflects it over the glass and up.
Well, Calgary has had a great stretch since the 19th of March. Vancouver obviously wanting to change things around coming into the playoffs. They decided that when the regular season ended, their stretch would come in the postseason play. You know, Calgary's improved record really coincides with the big trade they made that sent Gary Suter to Hartford and then on to Chicago.
Cruz races after the puck. Brown gets there ahead of him, but Kissio will cut off a clear. Bure takes a hit, but manages to move the puck ahead to Hedican. He attempted to hit Adams. It was beyond his reach, and it's an icing call against Van.
Salary in the league just under $600,000. That's almost 5 full years for a player. That's a few $1 million in injuries. Any way that you can reduce that number improves your performance and your profit margin.
Hedican gets to the puck before Kissio. Titov tried to cut it off, but Ronning starts back. 3:37 remaining in the period. Ronning shot kicked to the corner by Vernon. The other point, Hedican trying to tie it up, and he manages to freeze it against the boards for a face.
About and you consider ways that you can slow your opponent down if you can stay within the rules and just put a question into the guy you're playing against as to what you may or may not do. A small difference can make a big difference in the outcome of a series.
Merzen back after it. This will be an icing call against. .3:15 remaining in the second period. Merzen gets to the center line, fires it in. Al MacInnis being pressured immediately by Greg Adams. Nylander for Roberts. Roberts trying to go around Bure, and then Merzen comes in to cut him off. McIntyre couldn't handle the puck as it came off the glass, or he might have been in home free on Vernon.
Well, two former teammates at the other end of the rink. Dana Merzen, very, very strong. Gary Roberts goes to hit Merzen, and Merzen quickly goes to the boards just before Roberts hits him. If you get tight against the boards, you're a tough guy to knock down. Merzen with a clever little move that ends up resulting in Roberts simply hitting Merzen and the boards at the same time. The reversal energy knocked him down.
In game one, Merzen in front of the net was really giving Roberts a bad time. A couple of hits from behind that sent Roberts flying, and after the game, Roberts was saying, you know, at one time I thought Dana and I were pretty good friends.
Well, they still are friends, but when the series is on, you've got to find a way to get that edge. Those times appear in the game so often, and unfortunately most players don't realize where that opportunity was until the game is over. The experience is what shows you that little opportunity while the game is going on, and the next step is to capitalize on that.
Linden can't free it along the boards against Dahl. It goes behind the net. Nieuwendyk pinches in from the point, a shot right on. 2:35 remaining in the period. Ken, what have we got in our second intermission? Break, Ken. And remember, this is the first half of a Hockey Night in Canada doubleheader this Sunday. We'll be going to Chicago Stadium for Game 4 of the Toronto-Chicago series after we wind things up here at the Pacific Coliseum. Gerald Diduck very proud of the performance of his sister Judy as a member of the Canadian women's team that won a World Hockey Championship last weekend with a 6-3 win over the United States. And I'm sure in any conversation the two have had, they've probably talked about the possibility of the Diduck family having a double celebration this year if Gerald and the Vancouver Canucks can go on to a Stanley Cup win.
Well, Diduck doesn't necessarily get a whole lot of mention, but in playoffs, it's players like Diduck, Musil, Babbage, Musil, Stern, Cruz that make the difference, particularly in the early series.
2:27 remaining in the period. Throughout the playoffs, the Vancouver Canucks have had the edge in scoring goals in the second period. They have managed the only goal of the second period this afternoon, and they now have outscored Calgary 7.
They just hoped that on that particular afternoon that he would relent and go by himself.
Well, out in Vancouver, he has a great area to run along the seawall. Here's Babbage faking the shot. Now he lets it go. There was traffic in front of the net. John McIntyre was screening Vernon, but he managed to get a pad on the puck. Calgary player is hurt. There's going to be a penalty call. Cruz is down. And the Flames will have a man advantage as again Bearcat Murray comes out. Charbonneau is going to go off for slashing right here.
Boy, Charbonneau pulls the bottom hand up on his stick, gets them close together, and whacks Cruz. That's a no-no, particularly when Koharski is right behind you. Anytime you cock your elbows like that and have both hands together on the stick, you know you're going to be going to the penalty box. Not a very clever penalty to take. Short little chops are enough to throw a player off. Charbonneau going a little bit too far on that particular slash.
Prior to this series getting underway, both coaches talked about the need for discipline. On the power play, Calgary 0 for 4 today with 7 shots. During regular season play, the two teams combined for 400 penalty minutes. A lot of majors, a number of misconducts. And they realized just how dangerous power play advantages could be in the postseason. Fleury has it. Now MacInnis lets the shot go wide. Zalapski got the rebound. Fleury, quick shot. McLean makes the save. Reichel tried to get it back to Zalapski. He managed to glove the deflection off Captain Trevor Linden. Fleury at the top of the circle, back to MacInnis. Over to Reichel. Reichel tried to get it back to Fleury's backhand, blocked by McLean. Fleury has it again. Good puck movement by the Flames. Reichel's shot is blocked before it gets to the net by Musil. Loose puck in front of the net. Zalapski lets a long shot go. It's knocked down. Back to MacInnis. He shoots. It doesn't get to the net as Musil blocks another. Fleury back to the net. He tried to hit Zalapski, who was moving in from the point, but he was too closely covered by Lume. We're in the final minute. Along the boards, Courtnall will gain control, and Courtnall will push it ahead to Linden. Musil was knocked down in a collision in the neutral zone with Reichel.
Well, Vancouver has done a great job so far in keeping Calgary to the outside. The Flames have had lots of puck movement, and that makes it tough for a penalty killer, but Vancouver has been perfect so far.
Out front for Walls. Here's a shot for Nylander, and with all that traffic in front of the net, the puck hit one of the players. 14 seconds remaining in the penalty. Less than 10 remaining in the period as the seconds count down. Will the Flames be able to mount another offensive thrust? Here comes Kesmer. He can shoot it right on as the horn sounds, and McLean squeezes it between his pads.
Well, that's the second period that has ended with a shot right at the buzzer. Vancouver with great momentum. One of the areas you start to look at as the series gets longer and the games wear on is how well-conditioned teams are. The momentum that you have and what your crowd gives you sometimes takes away from some of the fatigue that's in your body.
17-8. Certainly familiar with that piece of property. 1 second remaining in the penalty to Joe Charbonneau to start the third period. Only 1 goal in the second period as Charbonneau is standing and ready to jump on the ice. And it was scored by Trevor Linden.
Well, not many power play opportunities in the second period, only 3. That ranks right down there as a low for this series so far.
Charbonneau is back out, and he bumps MacInnis as the Calgary rear guard drives it in. Brown taking his time. He has Roberts and Walls both watching him. Fired down the ice by Hedeken as he missed his man in the neutral zone with an attempted pass, and it's icing. Stern opened the scoring for Calgary at the 10:07 mark with Kissio drawing the assist. Then Martin Jalina with his second goal of the postseason from Bure and Brown on the power play tied it. And as I mentioned, Trevor Linden with the go-ahead goal from Courtnall and Brown at 2:06 of the second period, a period dominated by the Canucks.
Cross-ice pass from Courtnall. That's something that sometimes is missing from the game is the big winger streaking down the boards and letting a shot go. You can think of lots of guys that have turned series around with that type of a shot. The more you shoot the puck, the better your chances are. And as redundant as that may be, or as silly as it sounds, sometimes teams just don't do it enough.
One player who had not been doing it enough earlier in the series was Murray Craven. He had only 2 shots during the first 3 games. He's doubled that total so far today. Linden can't reach the pass, and again it's icing against
Vancouver is at the worst been even.
They score! Walls on the rebound of the MacInnis shot. And it's tied at 2.
Right off of the face-off, Al MacInnis gets a shot away on Kirk McLean. Wes Walls gets his second of the postseason. This guy has got very, very quick hands. MacInnis, who somehow finds a way to get that shot away quickly, didn't even make it to the net, hits a skate. And as Merzen looks for the puck, Walls, who is not right on top of McLean, but is close enough to capture a shot, scores a huge goal at a crucial part of the third period.
44 seconds into the third period. Wes Walls with his second goal of the postseason ties the game at 2. The Canucks had the face-off come back into their own zone twice as the result of icing infractions, and the Calgary Flames, despite the absence of their key man in the face-off circle, Joel Otto, were able to win the draw and get the tying goal.
Well, let's have another look at the tying goal right from the face-off. A good job by Vancouver to get out, but Titov, who has been very strong for the Flames all year with a big face-off. Wes Walls, with those quick hands, slips one past McLean.
Wes Walls did not play in the series opener, but he has dressed for the last 3, and he has responded to Coach Dave King's faith in him with goals in games 3 and 4 here in Calgary, in Vancouver. Reichel for Sullivan. His weak shot handled by McLean. Now Babbage starts away. Babbage flips it in the wing, broken up, and a race for the loose puck. Fleury's going after it with Reichel going for the net. Fleury's shot is gloved and held by McLean, with Reichel looking for a rebound that never materialized. Sunday at Calgary Stampede Park. A horse named after him. Fleury's finish went wire to wire. And Theoren was there to watch the horse run and also wager a few dollars on the winner.
Well, if he ever decides to get out of hockey, he's small enough to be a jockey.
5'6", and I think that's stretching the tape a little. From the faceoff, Reichel, as he has done in the past, attempted to go directly to the net. Fleury cuts off a clearing attempt. Reichel is checked by Hedican. Sullivan keeps it in for Reichel. Reichel dodges a hit. Reichel lets the shot go up high on McLean. And McLean had to do some juggling to keep the puck from getting away from him.
Well, this is a real clever shot by Robert Reichel. He uses Vancouver as a bit of a screen here, and as he looks north, he shoots south. Continues to roll off here, shooting off of his right foot. It's tough when you're coming out of the corner to shoot from the side from where you can, particularly when you shoot from that same side. Al MacInnis, I'm sure, is not talking about this, but a pretty impressive milestone for the Norris Trophy candidate, Al MacInnis, with his 100th career playoff point.
Fleury's quick shot blocked. He goes after the rebound. Threw it in front. And Sullivan couldn't get a shot away. And now it's the Flames who are applying all the pressure. Finally, it's skated out to center by Hedican for Charbonneau. He's checked as it's brought in across the line offside with 17:50 remaining in the third in a tied hockey. I wonder if they have a television set out there.
Well, if they do, I'll bet they're turned on and watching this hockey game, because it's a good one.
17:50 remaining in the third period in a 2-2 battle between the Flames and the Canucks, with the Canucks trying to even the series at 2-2. Brown tried to get it across to Courtnall, broken up. He gets it again. The shot is knocked down with the glove hand by Kevin Dahl. 17:33 remaining in the third. Game 5 of this series takes place on Tuesday in Calgary. Should it go to a 6th game, it will be here at the Pacific Coliseum on Thursday. Unlike some other arenas during this National Hockey League playoff season, there are no building conflicts in this game, or in this series between Calgary and Vancouver. Gerald Didick tries to play it out. It's cut off by Stern, who takes a hit from Sean Antosky. Now Courtnall tried to move it ahead to Antosky, too far for him. Vernon plays it, comes back to the line. A shot by Didick hits Courtnall in the back. Antosky takes a shot, and Vernon smothers that in his pads. Vernon was upset with something. I think he may have been indicating to referee Don Koharski that he felt Antosky interfered with him, cutting through the crease.
Well, there were about a half a dozen infractions over the last 30 seconds. Ron Stern really got belted by Antosky right over by the Vancouver bench. This is a check that kind of goes unnoticed, but both guys feel it. Stern then put a bit of a submarine on Dave Babbage over by the boards, and then Courtnall gets a stick up right here on Dahlquist. And that, I think, is what Vernon was pointing at. It's amazing how goaltenders see the whole ice. Every goaltender that I've ever played with, when I want to know what's happened on a shift, I simply go back and say, what happened there? Mike, Reggie Lemelin was a great guy at that. Goaltenders seem to have an ability to see more of the ice, and I guess that's just from watching the puck and knowing where you have to be. They've got a great ability there.
Hedican couldn't let a shot go at net because he had already started to move out of the zone when Brown fed it across to him. And it's icing against Calgary. 16:37 remaining in the third. Talked about the World Championships getting underway tomorrow in Italy. Earlier, Titov was on the gold medal winning team in 1993. Fleury for Reichel. Reichel was checked by Hedican. The puck comes to the line. Sullivan cut a clearing attempt off. Fed in front for Fleury. He scores! It was Sullivan's ability to cut off the clearing attempt that enabled Reichel to feed Fleury in front.
Well, perfectly called, Don. Calgary once again very strong in the third period. And McLean goes to fire this puck out, and Sullivan is right there. And this pass is already in Reichel's mind before Fleury gets there. This is something that practice does. Watch as Fleury comes in. He's virtually impossible to cover. Hedican wants to make sure that he's watching in front of the net. But in the transition from a forward watching Fleury to passing him off to the defenseman, Fleury is open for a split second, and pinpoint passing by Reichel allows Fleury to score the go-ahead goal.
Fleury now has 7 points in this series as McIntyre drops it off for Charbonneau. He was checked from behind, and Kissio starts back. Fleury from Reichel and Sullivan at 3:38. Here's Kissio with a shot, and McLean has that caught in his pads. Well, the 2 goals, the first, the quick goal 44 seconds into the period by Wes Walz, and now the go-ahead goal by Fleury has silenced the crowd here at the Pacific Coliseum.
Well, and this is what has silenced the crowd as Fleury moves into the slot. And even if he doesn't get that shot on net, you can see Sullivan coming in behind him. Good defensive strategy by the Calgary Flames. It makes no difference whether the goal is scored or not. Calgary is not putting themselves in a bad position if Vancouver were to attack. The Flames have done a good job tonight, this afternoon rather, in making sure that they've played the same game over the entire 45 minutes so far.
Out front for Stern. He was spun around. He looked to Koharski to see if there was a penalty call. Kissio skates away with Dahl. Dahl winds up his blast right on, and Merzen was able to get the rebound before Dahl could put a stick, or Kissio could put a stick on it. Here comes Big Merzen. Working against MacInnis, a backhand shot that was up high on goaltender Mike Vernon. Gave him some difficulties in trying to knock it down. Linden being watched by Roberts as he takes it back of the net. Now Babbage moves it ahead to Diddick. He dodges a check from Titov. Vernon leaves it behind the goal for Musil. Up along the boards for Walz. Walz frees it for Roberts. Roberts is rubbed out against the boards by Linden. For Courtney, back to Linden. He was checked from behind as he attempted to wind up and slap it. Walz works his way in against Babbage. Throws a weak shot behind the goal that Titov has. Titov trying to escape the checking of Ronning. Does so. Attempted to feed Walz, and it was picked off by Diddick. Diddick attempted to send a lead pass into the neutral zone to Courtnall, and it was beyond him, and it's an icing call against Vancouver. Here at the Pacific Coliseum, the Flames lead 3-2, hoping to go home and wrap it up on Tuesday night. The Vancouver Canucks have some other ideas as Adams brings it up the right side. Adams trying to drive for the net. Lets the shot go, and Vernon sprawling makes the save. Reichel, who led the Calgary Flames with 93 points this season, has yet to score against the Vancouver Canucks, but he has made some fine plays in setting up goals 4 times by his teammates. The most recent to Theoren Fleury for the go-ahead goal in this hockey game. Here comes Bure down the right side. Puts on the brakes, back to the line to Craven. Craven works in. Backhand shot. That's blocked before it gets to the net. Reichel starts away. Bure's after him. He moves it ahead to Patrick. He dumps it in. Lume has it now for the Canucks. Adams flips it to the Calgary line. Gathered in there by Musil. He takes a return pass as he starts away. Cruz coming in against Lume, shoots the puck back of the net. McLean trying to clear. Kissio cuts it off. Stern wheels and he flips it to the corner. Kissio is back of the net. Cruz is there as well. On the other side, McIntyre manages to move it out of the zone as Memesso and Stern collide. 12:40 remaining in the third period. Vancouver dominated the second period, but Calgary has had the edge in the third. Here's Lume trying to move in. There's a penalty. He's tripped up by Musil, and the Canucks will have a man advantage.
Well, Vancouver has been looking for a lift here in the first 7.5 minutes of the third period. Without question, in the first two periods, Vancouver were instigators. They had more intensity than the Calgary Flames, but Calgary has managed to keep the level of their play a little more constant. Musil gets the leg out on Lume and draws a penalty. The Canucks have to find another step. Perhaps this power play will give them a little bit more life and get them back to the level that they dominated at in the first two periods of play.
The Canucks have fired 36 shots at Mike Vernon. Half of those shots, or almost half of them, coming in the second period.
Greg Adams drove to the net here. Vancouver needs a little bit more of this in the third. Gets the shoulder down. And Vernon, who has stacked his pads on a few occasions this afternoon, did the same thing to Adams.
Brown to Ronning. Ronning takes the return pass. There's Brown's shot. Ronning gets the rebound. He lets it go, and it's blocked before it gets to the net. A good job by Calgary in throwing up a screen in front of goaltender Mike Vernon on those shots from the point. Brown has it in his skates. Wasn't sure for a moment that the puck was there. Here comes Bure. There's a buzz of anticipation each time he touches the puck. And he has to do a reversal to get back and take it away from Roberts. Now Linden puts on the brakes, feeds it to Brown at the point, over to Bure, a one-timer wide. What a rocket he let go. Ronning behind his back for Linden to Brown. Into Linden. Linden works his way back to the line. Bure has gone to the side of the net. Linden for Brown. Back to Linden. Over to Bure. A quick shot, but he didn't get much on it. Bure couldn't keep it in against Gary Roberts. Roberts, long shot, up high on Kirk McLean. 40 seconds remaining in the penalty to Frank Musil. Brown is forced to circle back by Titov. And he misses Courtnall with the pass as Zalapski cuts it off, and the fans start to boo the efforts of the Vancouver power play. Here comes Courtnall. Courtnall has Fleury hacking away at him. They have thrown him off enough. Now he gets it again. Courtnall takes it in front of the net, couldn't shoot it. Patrick has it in the corner. 7 seconds remaining in the penalty, and as he dumps it down the ice, that will kill off the power play. Musil is back in the ice.
Well, where the Canucks were jumping and winning one-on-one battles and being the first on the puck for the original 40 minutes of this hockey game, Calgary has started to dominate in that category, and that's why the power play on this particular chance has yielded no results for Vancouver.
Here comes Craven with Courtnall. Courtnall takes the pass, tried to get it back to Craven. It was broken up, and back the other way comes Al MacInnis. And Ron Stern was a little over anxious, and now he and Lume do some pushing back of the net. It was Lume who forced Stern at the line and took him offside. That resulted in the whistle, and Lume took Stern heavily into the end boards as well. 10 minutes remaining.
Well, Vernon has had the upper hand on McLean so far today, and Calgary has the upper hand right now as far as goal scoring goes. Ahead by 1. The Flames just killed off a big Vancouver power play and are looking now to see if they can't finish this thing up in the next 10 minutes.
The sellout crowd at the Pacific Coliseum of 16,150. Not liking what they've witnessed in the first half of this third period as the Flames erased a 1-goal deficit night at the Saddledome. Well, as you saw the numbers earlier, in the absence of Joel Otto and Joe Nieuwendyk in the face-off circle, other people such as Kelly Kissio, Theoren Fleury, Robert Reichel, and German Titov have done an excellent job for Dave King's team. Here's McIntyre with Charbonneau. Charbonneau's shot right on Vernon, and he's forced to hold it with Memesso driving in against MacInnis. An assistant coach with the Vancouver Canucks, while Pat Quinn was handling his dual portfolio of coach and general manager during the course of the regular season. Lee was the man directing things from the bench during 8 games of the 84 the Canucks played. And there's been speculation as to whether or not Pat Quinn will continue in the dual capacity next season, and some suggestions that if he decides to only operate as general manager, Rick Lee might become the head coach. 9:23 remaining in the third. 3-2 the Flames lead. Musil being pressured in the corner and bumped by Memesso. Linden collided along the boards with Cruz. Both of them went down. McIntyre spins Kissio around. Kissio persists and wins the battle for the puck to Stern. Stern tried to drop it back, and it's picked off by Memesso. Now Babbage jumps up into the play with Memesso. Memesso tried to go in front of the net for running, and it was intercepted. Stern simply dumps it in as Dave King makes some quick line changes. 8:38 remaining in the hockey game. 3-2, the Calgary Flames lead it.
There's a real tendency when you get in a game like this to try and do more yourself. Calgary ran into that in game 1. I can recall a number of different occasions, various Flames trying to beat Vancouver D. Dump the puck in and keep it simple.
Roberts flips it around to the other corner to West Walls, who takes a hit from Jelena along the boards, and the Vancouver player starts away with the puck. And then he runs into a check from Titov.
There's an example of that. Don Jelena has got great intentions, but he has to make the first pass, get the red line, and get the puck in. If you're trying to beat Flames the way they're playing right now, you're going to run into a pile of bodies and simply get more frustrated.
Zalapski tried to throw it out front. It was cut off by Vancouver, and the Canucks' Murray Craven comes back. Craven goes in deep, looks in front of the net. The puck is deflected loose in front of the goal. Adams couldn't get a shot. 7:20 now remaining in the third period. Lume brings it up ice. Ahead for Adams. Adams gets there in time to take off the icing. Good effort and good hustle by Greg Adams. He produced a goal for the Canucks in game 1 with the same type of drive. A backhand shot by Lume from the side boards. That's gloved and held by Vernon with 6:59 remaining in the third. In the first 3 games of the series, Mike Vernon faced 28 shots in each game. He's been much busier this afternoon. He's been tested 40 times.
Well, and Vancouver tested him in the first couple of periods. A lot of point-blank shots. Calgary was fortunate to come into the third period the way they did. It could easily have been a couple of goals to Vancouver's advantage, but with a few bouncing pucks and some tremendous goaltending by Vernon, they had an opportunity to come in even.
Craven tied up by Yanni in the corner. Patrick has Adams on top of him. Merzen's long shot right on. And Vernon had to be acrobatic to make the save.
Now this is fine now. Vancouver looking to direct more pucks at Mike Vernon. They dump the puck in to get this face-off. In all likelihood, it's not going to be a real pretty goal that ties this hockey game for Vancouver. There'll be a lot of play around the outside. There'll be a lot of call for the resources of your body from a conditioning point of view. The big guys like Adams and Merzen and Diddick and Babbage have to continue to hammer out the Calgary Flames and see if a puck doesn't cough up, get that 41 shot total up higher, and keep Calgary at the 27 they currently have.
Linden will take the face-off. Kissio remains out there to take the draw for Calgary. Now Kissio is going to be waved out, and Sullivan will step in. Or will it be Reichel? It apparently is going to be Reichel. Sullivan had initially moved to the face-off circle. Courtnall's shot is blocked. Can he keep it onside? Cut off along the boards, and now Diddick racing down the right side, having problems controlling the puck against Zalapski. Linden fighting along the boards as well, trying to get it loose. Reichel put it behind the net, cut off. Linden out in front for Diddick. Diddick back to Babbage with a long shot. That's deflected to the corner. Linden has it. Linden trying to get into the slot. Lets the shot go wide. Off the end boards. Courtnall was checked. He couldn't get a shot. Linden wheels and fires. That one is wide. And the puck is grabbed back of the net by goaltender Mike Vernon, but some hectic action in front of the Calgary goal with 6:11 remaining in the third. Canuck captain Trevor Linden was one of the Molson Canadian 3 stars in each of the first 2 games, and I think he's a potential star in this afternoon's hockey game as well.
Well, Mike Vernon has definitely been at the top of his game for Game 3 and Game 4. Linden could easily have been a star in Game 3, and if the Canucks would look at the way this guy's playing and do the same thing, they'd have a better chance of tying this hockey game.
Bure didn't waste any time in letting a shot go. It was on his stick for only a fraction of a second before he whistled it wide of the net. MacInnis takes a bump in the corner from Memesso. He leaves it there for Bure. Fleury ties him up. Gary Roberts quite content to simply flip it down the ice with 5:42 remaining in the third period.
Well, this is the frustrating part of playing a game like this. Calgary will put some pressure, but anytime they get an opportunity to lay it outside of the line so that you have to get all your guys out and then go back in, they will. Patience and discipline. Pat Quinn has talked about it, so has Dave King. The challenge here is to see who has got more patience, more discipline, and can combine that with intensity.
Jeff Brown for Bure, and Fleury was on top of him, but it would have been offside. You talked at the start of the game about how different people have taken the assignment of shadowing Pavel Bure. Sullivan basically has had the role, but when he isn't on the ice, if they can't change on the fly, other people such as Fleury have done a good job.
Now that's because of the flexibility that has been built into the Flames lineup. Not necessarily by choice either. As Fleury mentioned, 12 guys out against the Rangers one game a few months ago, and they still managed to win the hockey game. Bure has done it and been the key guy for the Canucks all season. 60 goals, 49 in 50 games. Very impressive statistics. He just can't seem to fight his way loose with the checkers that include Titov, Sullivan, and Fleury.
Well, the great players always seem to find a way of getting themselves free, and Bure has let some shots go, a couple of them off the goalpost, one off the crossbar, and he has picked up a couple of assists, but he has not produced the numbers that many people thought he might in the postseason. Here's Kissio spun around as he tried to drive for the net. Stern was knocked down, and Linden starts back. Drew's got his stick up on Courtnall. Linden, a backhand shot hit the post, and it's between the legs of Mike Vernon. Oh, Trevor Linden let a backhand shot go as he fought his way into the slot. It came off the post underneath Vernon, and he sat on it.
It was funny, the great players do a lot of the simple things all the time, and the reason that you see them being great is because they do those simple things. You remember them because you see some great plays. But Linden here simply does what he's been doing this entire series. He's driving to the net and he's shooting the puck. Lots of other Canucks would have been looking to make a pass here, but Linden gets a great backhand away, catches Vernon by surprise, and if it's a hair's width to the left, it's in the net. Just catches the post dead on and comes back under Vernon's pads. Big Dana Merzen driving to the net as well. Linden thought that he might have a chance, but he says, gosh, if it could have been just a little bit closer. The simple things are what makes great players great. When they get a chance to do the unbelievable, they do. But 95% of the time, they're doing what you just saw Trevor Linden do, make the simple, smart play.
You really think he just said, oh, gosh?
Gosh, yeah. Yeah.
Well, Tau power is what the Vancouver Canuck fans hope will get their team back into this hockey game. Blackhawks winning last night, holding off a furious third period rally by the Maple Leafs to win their first game of the series. 2-1 Toronto leads. Bob Cole, Harry Neal, Ron McLean, and Don Cherry are all at the stadium in Chicago. Vernon plays it before Bure can get there. Adams has spun around, couldn't get a shot away. Bure taken in against the boards by Zalapski. Jelena trying to free himself from a check. He moves in front, getting set, can't shoot. Now back to the point. Babbage lets it go. It's blocked by a sprawling Gary Roberts. In front of the net, the puck is loose. They jam away. Jelena can't get it up and over Mike Vernon. Vernon was groping for the puck, couldn't find it, but neither could Jelena.
Everybody just converged on the net. Calgary building what amounted to a human wall. The Flames pulling back in right within the crease as Vernon tried to grab the puck initially. Used to play this trick with Volkswagens to see how many guys we could put inside one. They're doing the same thing in the crease. Count them. You want to know how many guys are on the ice? You can look at it from the top. There's all 5 Flames. Don, we could put your security blanket over those 5 guys and cover them easily.
The way Jelena came flying in, you'd think he was a running back trying to score a touchdown at the goal line.
Well, we saw Roberts put a check on Courtnall in the second period, pretending he was the same thing. You have to clear some bodies out and hope the puck squirts loose. Now, Calgary all got in there. Vancouver cleverly has as many guys as they want. A couple laying on the perimeter. If the puck squirts out, everybody's down. You can throw a leg hold on someone, and hopefully your teammate with the puck can find enough open net and have the proper trajectory to get it up and into it.
3:44, the time remaining.
This is how you get chances generated, though. You've got Linden out there now with Charbonneau and Courtnall. Brown can shoot the puck. Hedican has played a strong game for Vancouver and in this series. Those simple plays driving to the net and see what happens.
MacInnis being forced back to the net by Courtnall, and he uses the boards to flip it down the ice. Brown leaves it in the corner for his defensive mate Hedican, who takes a hit. And he got the puck ahead to Courtnall. Courtnall for Linden. Backhand shot that Vernon has to handle. Brown took a swipe at it. It bounced away from him. Stern drives to the net. Stern puts it up high. Tried to pick the far side on McLean, and McLean was able to get his shoulder in the way. Charbonneau's shot is blocked by Gary Roberts. Then Roberts is bumped in against the boards. 2:59 remaining in the third period. 3-2. The Flames lead the Canucks. Patrick starts up the right side with Ronning after him. And Patrick fires it into Vancouver territory. Babbage has his pass cut off by Fleury. Roberts couldn't get a shot away. Ronning was all over him. Reichel in the corner, taken down by Lume, and the puck is under the 2 of them with 2:29 remaining in the third period.
Well, I don't know why it is, but when you're winning a game like this and it's close, the time goes much, much slower than it ordinarily does. And when you're losing, you can't believe where the time on the clock has gone. At times you look up and you say, boy, they must be making a mistake. Someone's pulling minutes and seconds off of that clock. Depending on your vantage point, it's a lot quicker than it ordinarily is, or a lot faster. Quinn now looking a little bit ahead, looking at his lineup and deciding what he might have to do as far as pulling a goaltender or who he wants on the ice. He has to start to make those decisions now because he simply can't play the 5 guys that he has out there on this instance for the next 2.5 minutes.
Quinn said after game 3 that he was not unhappy with the play of his team for most of the game. He said we made a few mental errors that cost us the hockey game. I think he might have the same assessment of this one. For most of the game, the Vancouver Canucks have been pretty good.
The first 2 periods, they deserved to be ahead and they weren't. And Calgary has been consistent over the entire 3 periods. And that consistency has widened up a little bit of a gap because Vancouver has fallen off in the 3rd.
The puck bounces off the linesman Collins at center ice. And Reichel is able to chop it back into the Vancouver zone. Here comes Babbage again. Drop pass for Courtnall. His shot hits Babbage in the back of the leg as the big defenseman is going for the net. Babbage lost his stick in the process. Has to go to the bench. Hedican comes on the ice in his place. Hedican racing in. Cuts off a clearing attempt by Yanni. Back to Brown at the line. Over to Courtnall. His shot deflects off the puck at the stick that was lying in front of the net. McLean comes to the bench. Al MacInnis knocks the puck down, knocks it to center ice. 1:03 remaining. Roberts off the boards for Kissio. Brown got there first. The extra attacker out there for Vancouver, and the puck is cleared over the glass and out of play with 54 seconds remaining.
Well, the crowd calling for a penalty as Bure got hauled down. Playing on the bench. Now, Don, we had a little bit of fish last night. That looks like the salmon that Ron Forsyth caught.
Pep, I hate to tell you this, but it wasn't a salmon we had last night. It was a steelhead. There's a difference.
It was a fish, though, wasn't it?
I don't think anybody has any thoughts about cooking this one or barbecuing this one. .43 shots Mike Vernon has faced tonight. You know, after game 1, when they lost 5-0, as we look at Chicago Stadium and the warm-up that is taking place, we see Tony Amonte, a 4-goal man last night. You know, he could have had a half dozen with the scoring opportunities he had, but his 4 goals were vital, of course, in the Chicago Blackhawk win, their first game of the series. And here at the Pacific Coliseum in Vancouver, the building in the foreground, it is 3-2, the Flames leading the Canucks with 54 seconds remaining.
Now the Canucks looking for somebody to come out of the woodwork just like Amonte did last night. Calgary will obviously be playing Australian rules rugby for the last 54 seconds. Sometimes it's better to back off and let the guys that are defending do all the gripping. If you do that, it's amazing how every once in a while a play opens up. You still have to have patience, even in the last 54 seconds of the 3rd period in a 1-goal game.
Ranheim dumps it to the corner. Patrick tries to clear, cut off by Adams. At the side of the net, Jelena couldn't center, and it winds up in the mesh. And then Fleury, who is known as a bit of an agitator, takes Jelena in against the end boards.
Well, the more face-offs you can get in the offensive zone, the better chance you have, particularly if you've practiced a couple of little draws and plays. Watch Jelena get the glove in Fleury's face here. The mask helped a bit. It's a lot easier to keep your composure when you're up by 1 with 44 seconds remaining in the 3rd than it is to go the other way. When you're winning hockey games and things are going your way, it's so much simpler to turn the other cheek. When you're trying to find a way, sometimes you lose that composure out of mere frustration.
44 seconds remaining. A slight delay as someone had thrown a paper airplane onto the ice. Fleury is in the face-off circle with Linden. Fleury has done a very creditable job this afternoon in the face-off circle. And now James Patrick, who had gone to the bench, moves back into position. Vancouver net is empty. A scramble for the puck. Adams leaves it in the corner. Calgary can't clear. Adams for Jelena. Jelena centered. It bounces to Adams. It's tangled up in his skates. Fleury has it. A backhand shot. He tried to get out with some help from Roberts, and they do get it to the neutral zone. Now Bure has it. Rink wide for Adams. Adams trying to work in. Patrick got back to check it. Ronning has it. He can't get a centering pass, and it's fired down the ice. Back after it goes Bure. 10 seconds remaining. And it looks as though the Calgary Flames are going to head home with a 3-1 series lead. Bure with a long drive right on as the game comes to an end. An outstanding performance by Mike Vernon, stopping 44 shots as the Calgary Flames get 2 third-period goals from Wes Walz and Theo Fleury for a 3-2 win and a 3-1 series lead.
Well, Calgary with a very consistent approach to the game this afternoon. Vancouver, without question, was better in the first 2 periods. They were winning the one-on-one battles. They were the instigators. They had the intensity and the momentum. But Calgary somehow has managed throughout the year and over the last couple of games of this series to keep their composure, and in doing that, all of a sudden an opportunity arose, and when it did, they capitalized. As a result, they win by 1 goal in a close and exciting 3-2 hockey game.
Well, this will be a pleasant trip home tonight for the Calgary Flames and for the Vancouver Canucks. They can perhaps reflect back on their seasonal record that saw them win more games away from the Pacific Coliseum than they did at home, and the fact that they were able to win Game 1 of this series at the Saddle Dome in Calgary. Wes Walz is the man who tied it at 44 seconds of the 3rd period, and then Theo Fleury got the winning goal. A disappointing sellout crowd heading for the exits. Ronnie Stern started the scoring for Calgary from Kissio at 10:07. Then on the power play, Martin Jelena from Bure and Brown tied it as the Canucks outshot the Flames 15-10 in the opening period. In the 2nd period, Trevor Linden, his 3rd of the playoffs from Courtnall and Brown at 2:06, gave Vancouver a 2-1 lead, and it was a 2nd period dominated by the Canucks, outshooting the Flames 17-8. But then, early in the 3rd period, a couple of icing calls brought the faceoff back into the Vancouver zone, and with Titov winning the draw, MacInnis had his shot blocked by Vernon, but Walz pounced on the rebound to tie it. And then Theo Fleury at 3:38 on a perfect feed from the corner from Robert Reichel after Sullivan cut off McLean's clearing attempt proved to be the winning goal.
Now here's a look at it. Fleury jumps in, then with a perfectly timed pass that's virtually impossible to cover when you move to an area. Vancouver's defense has no alternative but to be in there tight, and when they are, this is the feeling that you get when the game's over.
And Dave King is a very happy man. The concerns he had coming in as he and Guy Chiron celebrate were about the injuries to Joel Otto and Joe Nieuwendyk. But now he heads home, and I'm sure as they take a look at the condition of Nieuwendyk and Otto, they